Welcome to the final video of the 31 Days of Horror 2014. Here is the complete overview of what I watched for the month of October 2014, where I watched 31 horror movies I had never seen before. Not an easy task, let me tell you. It was, well, if it wasn't for the fact that I've been collecting movies and not watching them simply for my 31 Days of Horror, then yeah, it would not be easy. And luckily I do go to a film festival in October, the Toronto After Dark Film Festival, which, of course, being that these are all new releases, not yet out on Blu-ray, DVD, or theaters yet, some of which have not even picked up distribution whatsoever, some of them never have. Yes, I'm happy to say that that helps a lot. But I do keep track of all the movies that I watch in the month of October completely. So, without further ado, let me go over the films that did not qualify for my 31 horror movies. And reasons for that being, A, they aren't horror, or can't, even be slightly considered horror. I have a very wide definition of horror. It's not, constrained. It's not just serial killers or ghosts, but it's very wide paintbrush, if you will. But it's also movies that I have seen before, which are horror movies, so they do not count. The first movie I watched was the 1978 film Blue Sunshine. Next movie I watched, which is not a horror film, no matter what, is Alexander and the Terrible, Horrible, No Good, Very Bad Day, which I saw in theaters. Not a horror movie, though if I ever watch it again, I'll be scared more of myself for having watched it again. After that was Samurai Jack, the 2002 direct-to-video sort of, I don't know, it's a compilation movie where they've taken bits and pieces from the first few Samurai Jack episodes and put them together sort of to resell the series, I think, in a sense. But it is played as a full feature film, full ongoing story. 2002 Samurai Jack. So again, that could actually almost be horror, but not so much. That night, I watched Samurai Jack, so I can't really say that I hadn't seen it before. Next up is from the Toronto After Dark Film Festival, Kumiko the Treasure Hunter, not And the Treasure Hunter, which is this. It's more of a drama than anything. Foreign film, Japanese. Interesting film. I wouldn't say it's a great film, but if you're looking for something different, it's definitely something that would probably fall under that category. And finally, a film I have seen before from 2013, World War Z. Even though I'm Canadian, it's like World War III, World War Z. You gotta say it that way. So, on to the films that I did watch that did qualify. First, on October 1st, I watched Killer Instinct, the movie from 2001. On the 2nd of October, for my second film, I watched I, Frankenstein, which was a film in theaters earlier on in the year, but I did not see it. October 3rd, saw a couple of movies. I watched Outpost Black Sun from 2012. And then I also watched Insidious Chapter 2 from 2013. So it was a double bill that day. On the 4th, I watched the 2010 film called Bedeviled in English, or in its native language, I'm going to botch this, Kim Bok Nam Salin Sa Goi Nui Jon Mao. Yeah, sorry if I have somehow just offended somebody's grandmother or something. I apologize. Again, not my native language. The sixth film came on October 7th, falling behind already, and that was a film I watched with, the lovely Leslie from 2012, 100 Ghost Street, The Return of Richard Speck, a ghost movie. On October 8th, I continued on watching the film from 1980 called Monster or Monstroid. And it had a few other titles that it went under on various, whatever you want to call them, releases. Whoever released it as different titles. Coming in at the 8th film on October 10th, falling further behind, the 2014, again a movie from this year, but I didn't catch it in theaters. That's Devil's Due, which may honestly be my least favorite horror film of the year that was released theatrically. Following up, over the course of 2 days, I watched a trilogy of films. The 2002 film Scarecrow, which was on October 13th. And then over the 13th and 14th, because I split it up, I just couldn't watch it anymore. The 2003 follow-up, Scarecrow Slayer. And then on the 14th, I watched the 2004 film Scarecrow Gone Wild, the one where he essentially, gets into wet t-shirt contests. Following up on the next day, the 15th of October, I caught my 12th film of the month. Believe it or not, a film I had not seen before from 2010. That's Tucker and Dale vs. Evil. Highly recommended, lots of fun. And then we started in October 16th, the Toronto After Dark Film Festival. Films 13 and 14 consisted of Housebound, highly recommended, Suburban Gothic, recommended as well. Both are very good films. Housebound being a really good film. I'm going to buy that one for sure. Next day, the 17th, saw the film Hellmouth, and then that was followed up by the sequel ABCs of Death 2. And then on the 18th, which should have been, literally, I don't know why Canadian hadn't done this yet, but the American film Zombievers, followed up by Dead Snow 2 Red vs. Dead. The 19th saw 3 movies actually. The Canadian film The Drownsman, love the poster, and then 2 werewolf movies, Wolves and Late Phases. Very different types of werewolf movies, both are good for various reasons. Not great, but definitely enjoyable. Now we are into the 20th, saw the 22nd movie, so I'm now ahead of the month with the film Open Windows. I enjoyed it, but I've been told that apparently it is not the best of this, what I think may be a new way of doing films. It's slightly harder and more expensive than the found footage type films, but it's still a found footage type film. I don't even know what you'd call it. It's the computer desktop film, I guess, where you film the desktop of a computer and everything's happening via cameras and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. The 21st of October saw 2 films yet again with the time travel night. First being Predestination. I believe it's all streaming right. Is it streaming? It will be streaming. I don't know if I don't know. It'll be on video, I'm sure. If it's not on goes to video, it'll definitely be on video on demand. Definitely worth something to checking out. It tells a particular story very, very well, probably the best I've ever seen. And that was followed up by Time Lapse, another time travel type movie, which I really, really, really enjoyed, and I definitely want to pick up on video whenever I can. The next day, October 22nd, saw the post-apocalyptic night type thing with first the very subdued Refuge, followed up by the very over-the-top Wormwood, which I enjoyed both, but definitely two different movies. October 23rd was one of the movies that I actually think is one of the best horror films of the year, and that's The Town That Dreaded Sundown. It is just so well done. If you like meta movies, you know, that go up beyond anything that you would normally see in traditional stuff, this is definitely something for you. It really renews the slasher genre, in my opinion. It's not a sequel, it's not a prequel, it's, like I said, it's a meta movie, it's everything. That was followed up by the documentary Why Horror. Honestly, I'm not a documentary fan, and I don't think this was a very good documentary, even as, you know, as that. It's a pass if you ask me. For me, it worked because I knew a lot of people who were in it. It's very Toronto-centric in terms of, because, you know, essentially the guy's been going to the same events that I've been going to since roughly about the same time that I started going to them. So a lot of what he's talking about and what he's doing and what he's showing, that I was there. I was doing the exact same thing, though I don't show up in the movie, oddly enough. Next, on the 24th and the final day of the Toronto After Dark Film Festival, first we saw Let Us Pray, very slick looking movie, followed up by the, you know, raving critics going mad. They're just loving this film. I enjoyed it. I don't think it is as enjoyable as a lot of people out there are saying, but that's just for me. A lot of people were really scared by this film. I wasn't at all, but I did think that there was a lot that was really cool about this movie, and that's The Babadook. So that brought me up to 30 films. Now I gotta see 31 films. Luckily, it's only the 24th. So moving on to the 25th, I hit number 31 with the 2008 film Sight. Don't watch it. Never watch it. Stay away. Bad. You saw, yeah, me and Leslie saw that, and yeah, no good. But I continued on. Leslie and I, we decided to continue on watching horror movies because it's still October and it's not Halloween yet. So on the 27th, the 32nd film of my 31 Days of Horror, the 2012 film Playback, which I enjoyed more than Leslie did. Yeah, it wasn't a great film, but it had some stuff that was worthwhile. And then finally, on the 31st, on Halloween, we watched the 2012, I think it was direct-to-video and direct-to-video on demand, Scary or Die. It's like an anthology type thing. It is not good. Not good at all. Yeah, it's... I did pass 31 movies, which I normally do, but I mean, just if you compare it to the 2013 31 Days of Horror that I did 38 horror movies I had never seen before, as well as 8 films that I had seen before or were not horror films. Even though I think a couple of them I probably could have. If I was doing a horror website, I would probably review them still, because they are just like on the border. So yeah, I'd have to say that the 2014 edition of the 31 Days of Horror for me was probably the least amount of movies I've ever watched in October, and definitely very, very close to not hitting the 31 movies that was required. I was almost to the point where I was thinking, wow, okay, I hope, because this is the thing with the Toronto After Dark Film Festival, I don't know which films are actually going to qualify. They don't necessarily always qualify, even with my wide, paintbrush that I paint the horror genre with. sometimes there's action movies, a lot of action movies. You know, there could be, you know, like In the Name of the King. I might like, I would review it for a horror website, but I wouldn't necessarily call it horror. Yeah, there's often action films. We watched one year there was Achi and CPAC, which is a weird anime. Just, yeah, there's a lot of films we watch don't qualify for this, so I never know going into the festival whether I'm going to be able to, you know, like maybe only I know most of it is going to be horror related. I know that for sure, just being the time period, being October, people are coming out. If you want to, you know, sell tickets to your festival, you're going to have to do some horror movies. So that being said, I did know that at least half of them were going to be a horror related, but there's never any guarantees. So going into that, I was a little iffy about whether I was going to make it. Luckily, all but one did qualify, and therefore it wasn't too difficult. But who knows what 2015 will bring about. I will be back at the festival. I will be back doing this. Hopefully YouTube will still be around and you'll be able to follow along. But if not, then just do it yourself. It is a fun experiment to do. It is a fun way to check out movies you've never seen before in the genre. And if you're into horror films, hey, you're gonna find some stinkers. I apologize that it will happen, but unless you're like me and you watch hundreds and hundreds of movies every year, you know, and you've seen all the, you know, tons of horror movies, then yeah, you're likely going to be able to find enough good ones. You know, if all you've watched is those, you know, major theatrical releases, then there are a ton of direct-to-video ones that are great, or at least good. A lot of which I think should have gone to to the theaters, but hey, you don't have a big name, you don't have 3D, you don't have all that kind of stuff in there. Good luck. Good luck. So, yeah, hopefully I'll see you next year in 2015, and we'll do this all again. But if not, do it yourself, have some fun, and keep it horror, as Mr. Gorilla Beast would say, right? So, till next video, guys, take care, have a good one.